Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
Hello and welcome to this very special series on personal economy. Now, in today's highly connected world, economies of nations invariably influence each other. But where does the individual fit in the scheme of things? Well, this series explores the concept of an economy that is very specific to an individual. A personal economy that incorporates the things that we value most: family, home, passion and work. To begin with, in this very first episode, we take a look at the recently held Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond, presented by HSBC Premier in partnership with CNBC TV 18.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you very much for joining us here. We're living with uncertain times at this point in time, and hence I think it's imperative to really focus on the basics. And the basics, whether it's a business or it's our own personal economies, I think are the same. We need to focus on the core fundamentals, and let me just articulate what they are for me. I think most important is to have a sense of purpose and marry that sense of purpose with passion. I think you need to focus very clearly on differentiation, on what makes you stand out, on what makes you who you are, how you're really different from anybody else, whether as an individual or as a business. And I think if you can zero in on that, it will hold you in good stead. Very often we don't talk enough or focus enough about specialization, and I think businesses that actually enjoy the power of specialization enjoy pricing power, enjoy the premium in a market. And I think that's something that both as an individual as well as a business, we need to think more about. At the end of the day, we need to think about our relevance. Are we doing things? Are we providing solutions? Are we addressing real pain points that are relevant for our markets? Those are questions that businesses need to ask, and those are questions that we need to ask as individuals as well. But let me just end by saying that in life and in business, I think if we focus on what really makes us who we are, if we focus on our core and our fundamentals, we will be in for the good times. And I'm hoping that during the course of the conversations that happen here on this stage this evening, we will find our ways of trying to insulate ourselves from the challenges that we may come across. Enjoy the rest of the conversation. Thank you very, very much indeed.
Thank you for that, Shireen. Now our next speaker is here to expand on the thinking process behind the summit. Please welcome the Head of Retail Banking and Wealth Management at HSBC India, S. Ramakrishnan.
A lot of people have been asking us about what is this whole concept about personal economy. And this is a very unique event because when you put so many bankers in one room, they love to talk about the financial economy. They love to talk about the global economy. But this is really the softer side of the economy. This is about you personally. We'll hear these stories that people talk about that should help each one of you identify your personal economy, state it very clearly, maybe even quantify it to some extent, and then even plan for it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, how do we evaluate personal economy? What are the aspects of the economy that are personal and public? And how do we factor in the influence of global and national economies on personal economy? The topic of our first session is Decoding Personal Economy. Please welcome the Global Head of Wealth Insights Group Wealth Management at HSBC, Vineet Vora.
We all have our dreams. We all have our different passions. And what I'm trying to share with you today is some insight to what stands in the way.
You've got a set of assets. It's you. It's the goodwill that you have earned, the family you have, the physical assets you may have built up, and a set of liabilities. And in this case, assuming you've not borrowed, those liabilities are actually the obligations and duties. And those dreams that you have. How do you manage the two? At the end of the day, we know we are talking about money, but money by itself is nothing. Money is a means to an end. Money is how you start to achieve your dreams. And money, at the end of the day, is made up of many complex, rational pieces of investing logic, which at the end of the day become quite meaningless because you are not driven rationally. I put it to you that you, like me, like anybody who's alive, is actually very irrational. Baron Rothschild, one of the earliest billionaires the world has seen, said, "Buy when you see blood on the street." You've all heard that probably.
But what you haven't heard is the actual line that he used, which is a little bit longer. Buy when you see blood on the street, even when it's your own. Truly dispassionate, truly fearless, truly emotionless. Are we that? Of course we are not. If you don't have passions, you won't have those dreams. How many of you take losses easily? I don't. I'm still sitting on some stocks I bought from the dot-com era. It's not uncommon. We are loss averse. And so the manifestation of this is that you'll take your profits quickly and sit on your losses. Over time, you'll have a loss-making portfolio. Now, I shared with you five simple examples of behavioral biases that manifest themselves in all of us. So the first, loss aversion, herding, people running, what in Hindi is I guess called bhed chal. So, just follow the crowd. Overconfidence. I made money yesterday, so I'll do the same thing, I'll make it again. Right? That's a classic example of overconfidence. Framing, how things are presented. A lot of you would settle for a fund that pays you dividends than a fund that reinvests the dividends. And finally, hindsight. History, unfortunately, doesn't repeat as much as mistakes. This might sound like a very despondent, pessimistic, albeit realistic view to things. But there is a way to overcome these. The first step towards overcoming them is to be aware. And so, these are the points I wanted to make in summary. You have your own personal ambitions, passions, plans. Make sure you invest in them, not by putting money, but by putting the time and the discipline that goes around it. And every journey that you seek will be yours. Thank you.
The new age that we live in, there is literally no limit to ambition. But as I said, the most important thing is for people to recognize that they have to plan. And I think that's an area where we're beginning to see people take a lot more control of their activities. So the DIY business is beginning to grow. But that by itself is not enough. And so with the right guidance, we think that can be fostered and people can start to take more responsibilities for their dreams and their realization.
A few home truths there. Well, it's time now for a break. When we return, the chairman of Marico gives us an insight into his continuous quest for innovation. Don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back. You're watching a special episode on Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond, presented by HSBC Premier in partnership with CNBC TV 18. Now, personal economy, as we saw, is very specific to individuals, but there are lessons to learn from inspiring journeys. The keynote speaker at the summit, the chairman of Marico, Mr. Harsh Mariwala, talked about his personal quest towards making Marico one of India's leading consumer companies.
I am delighted to be here, and I've been asked to speak on risk-taking, innovation, my journey. So I go back at a very, very young age, when I just passed out of college. I was the first person from the next generation to come into the business. It is completely family managed. There were no professionals. At one level, my uncles and my father said that you do whatever you want to do. And I just, out of sheer curiosity, I started exploring. Started going into different parts of 3 businesses and realized that one business which we had, edible oil business, it was mainly we were selling mainly edible oil in bulk, unbranded. And at that time I realized that if we are able to convert this business from unbranded to branded, I think we should be able to add a lot of value. We should be able to get a sustainable, profitable business. So we had 2 brands, Parachute and Saffola. Initially some growth came through sheer distribution. I mean, from a 0% market share, we went to about 15% market share. But then we said that, what else can we do in this area? How can we grow? And at that time, we said that, can we innovate in this category? Can we create some disruption? There are limited opportunities for you to improve the quality of the product, which we did. But beyond that, we said, can we use packaging as a route to innovate? And at that time, the whole market for coconut oil was in tins. So we said that if we are able to convert that from tins to plastics, I think we should be pioneering that journey. We said that before we launch the product, let's go to the retail trade and find out what's the reaction. There was a strong objection from them saying that we are not going to keep your coconut oil in plastic, so please don't even launch. Apparently, a few years before we launched, there was some other player who had launched coconut oil in plastics. And when the retailer closed the shop in the night, and opened the shop next morning. He saw that most of the bottles were eaten by rats. So we said that, how do we overcome that? So we went back to our packaging department and said that, can you design a bottle which is a rounded kind of bottle where the rat will not be able to take a grip? And went to our packaging department saying that, can you pack it in such a way that there is no oil oozing out? So we did all that, but that was not enough. We said that we now need a proof to show it to the retailers. So we actually kept the bottle in rat cages for a few days and just proved that they were not able to take a bite on our bottles. And with those pictures, we went to the trade. So it was a matter of time we were able to convert the market to tin, from tin to plastic. And we did that over a period of 10 years. Our market share jumped up from straight away 15% to almost 50%. So I think it's very important in any business that innovation plays a very, very important role. And innovation is just not product. It is products, it's packaging, it is all your processes. We are a company, we believe that we are a company which is very strong on values. We trust people a lot. So we said that each person incurs certain expense statement. And normally, you have to go to the boss for authorization. We said, can we do away with that? We have clear guidelines what you can claim, and you can self-authorize your expenses. In terms of leave, if you are sick, we trust you. And in terms of casual leave, if you have some casual work, somebody's getting married or children's education or whatever, you just take this casual leave. They have to inform the boss, of course. So I'm saying that, again, you cannot accept a certain mindset which normally exists. You have to challenge that mindset. And that quest for challenge has to continuously go on. And it has to go on across functions, across products, for the same product on a perpetual basis. I'll talk a little bit about how do you create a small company culture, entrepreneurial culture in a large organization. In the past, whenever a new idea came in, I would normally go to my team, the head of marketing or head of sales, and would discuss with them. And invariably, they had a lot of things to do on their own, in their own area, that it would get neglected. And we said that if we actually create an incubation cell, wherein just one or two people are involved and their only job is to evaluate new businesses. And because we had remove escape buttons, we were able to move fast. We were able to move like an entrepreneur. So I think these are some of my learnings. Is there any questions answered?
So we'll do a short Q&A. If I could just request you to move to the center of the stage, I'll invite Vineet if you could also join, sir. We'll do a joint. If you could join, sir, on stage, we'll do a joint Q&A. We've actually got a couple of questions on Twitter. Mr. Mariwala, somebody wanted to ask you the advice you would want to give young entrepreneurs of today.
And I've seen that increasingly more and more students want to be entrepreneurs, and they say, where should we go? How do we? We don't want to become entrepreneurs now, but over a period of next, 3, 5, 10 years, we want to be an entrepreneur. What kind of experience is required? My advice to them has been that don't join a large organization. You will be a very small frog in a big pond. First option, better to go to a startup. Because in a startup, there is always the entrepreneur needs help in various areas, and that will expose you a lot. If that is not possible, go to a consulting organizations where you will actually work with entrepreneurs. If that doesn't work, then maybe become executive assistant to a managing director. Again, you will get a holistic picture.
So you have to constantly go on tracking what is working, what is not working. Go on tweaking the business model until you arrive at something which you know that is stable. So I think entrepreneur has to devote a lot of time in terms of working with customers, as well as arriving at a business model which is sustainable, profitable, and growth-oriented over a period of time. In all that, talent plays a very important role, so getting the right talent on board also is very, very important. You have to have a lot of patience, and finally you need to have some degree of financial resources, because you may have a certain plan, but many a time there will be certain hurdles and you may be put back.
An exceptional insight into the mind of Mr. Harsh Mariwala. We'll take a short break now. When we're back, a global perspective on the influences on personal economy. Welcome back. You're watching a special episode on Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond, presented by HSBC Premier in partnership with CNBC TV18. Now, at the well-attended summit in Mumbai, the managing editor of CNBC TV18, Shireen Bhan, sat with the Group GM and CEO of HSBC India, Stuart Mill, to discuss just how interconnected the global economy is.
ask you about what you're seeing as far as the global economy is concerned today. China is slowing down. India is still growing at about 7.5%, but most people are now revising the growth forecast for India lower as well. The US is okay. When the Fed will act, won't the Fed act in October or December? That question mark continues. As you look at the world today, what is the biggest risk that you foresee?
As you mentioned, the China slowdown is a concern. That does have some positive impacts for some countries. And in fact, India is one of the major beneficiaries of slowdown in China because it's had an impact on commodity prices, oil in particular. And that's meant that both the fiscal deficit and the current account deficit for India have vastly improved. Yep, there are risks out there, but there's always risks out there. On the other hand, every risk, there's always an opportunity too.
You know, a lot of this evening has been spent talking about innovation. And innovation in financial services has not necessarily been a great thing, as 2008 has shown us. And we've actually seen a gap between required innovation, necessary innovation, and how innovation can be married with appropriate regulation. At this point in time, how do you see the scenario panning out?
No, I think innovation in terms of distribution, how we sell the product and the convenience for the customer, this is absolutely critical. Yeah, in terms of the products, innovation is limited by regulation. Here in India, the regulator has been particularly insistent on not allowing some of the more exotic types of product. And actually, that's served the consumer very well in India. Having said that, I think one of the challenges we have for the future is that with interest rates coming down, the traditional bank deposits and using bank deposits as a store of value and a way to increase your nest egg for the future, that avenue is increasingly going away. And we as savers, we're looking to finance our retirement, are going to be forced to think about taking more risk and looking at a broader range of products to get there.
From a bank's perspective at this point in time, given the opportunity in India, given the fact that you are now going to see the competitive landscape change because more licenses have been given out, you've got everyone leveraging technology, you've got payment banks on the anvil. What is going to differentiate HSBC, since everyone's been talking about innovation, differentiation, the right to win? What is your right to win?
For HSBC, our global strategy is simply to be the world's leading international bank. So what that means is connecting markets like India and customers in India with the global marketplace. So we're all about leveraging our global network, and we have one of the largest international bank networks amongst any of the banks, something that's very, very difficult to replicate because in today's environment, regulators don't want to see banks getting bigger, actually. The issue is how to manage complexity and manage size. But we have this network, and that's what we try to leverage to the benefit of our customers. So we're very focused on that, the cross-border, international type of banking.
You know, since you're talking about cross-border, do you really see outbound deals and inbound deals picking up significantly, given the weak global climate today?
Yes, and you need to look at this beyond just 1 year because these things often have a long gestation, and opportunity doesn't present itself every month. We've been involved in most of the large deals inbound into India, the cross-border deals, over the last 2 years. We see a continuing level of interest in that area. On the outbound, I would say it's more specific to certain types of industry or certain locations. So you could take pharmaceutical industry investing into the United States, for example, as a particular theme, where we've seen quite a lot of activity.
Well, that's good to hear. Stuart, thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Shri.
Appreciate you joining us here on this special conversation on personal economy, India, and plenty more. Appreciate your time.
We really do need to take time out and think long term. So think about what our objectives are for ourselves personally, for our family, for our children, because each of those objectives has a financial implication. And the sooner we start to plan for those, the easier it's going to be to achieve them.
On that note, it's time to wrap up the first episode of the series. Stay tuned as next week we'll have more from the stellar lineup of speakers at the Personal Economy Summit, Your Wealth and Beyond, presented by HSBC Premier in partnership with CNBC TV 18. Goodbye for now, and many thanks for watching.
Just play. My passion is life.
The most important thing after that is to plan for it.
But if he's gone for the ball and he's dropped it, that's fine. Was the process right?
focus. Ideate, innovate, enable.